people are still opening packets of Voila like it's frozen in time. How interesting is that? People hate change, and especially around their precious coffee world that they're all so obsessed with. And I just felt like, am I the only one using my brain up here? Your product might suck, and what you're doing might suck. It's like you have to earn it. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. People just want to live in their fantasy world and don't want to live in reality. That's such a funny question. Cheers. My whole life, I really didn't like coffee at all. And it wasn't until I got married to my wife, who's from Oregon, like coffee capital of America, kind of in the Pacific Northwest. She slowly got me into coffee. And then when we moved to Oregon, I was like, my mind was opened up to what craft coffee, specialty coffee was. And being an obsessive person, I was like, I'm going all in. I'm learning everything I can about coffee. And I became like the coffee guy in the family. There's a lot of expectation on me to make like the best coffee. And I had a bigger family, so making a lot of cups. So I'd wake up early and like hand grinder, had all this complex setup just to make like a few good cups of coffee. And I was like, there's gotta be something better. There's gotta be a better way. I've never tried instant coffee before, but what if instant coffee could be good? Is that impossible? Like, what if you just put specialty coffee in to the instant process? Like, would you get good tasting instant out? And I was like, okay, let me Google that. And of course I did, and it's like nothing showed up. Like the nicest specialty instant coffee was like Nescafe premium line or gold line or whatever they would call it. And I was like, has no one tried this? Has no one tried to make instant coffee taste good? I was like, I guess I'm the guy. I guess I'm gonna go try it. And I just went down this wormhole of like, how is instant coffee made? What is a freeze dryer? What is sublimation? Like everything into what it would take to test this myself. And I became completely obsessed. It really opened up my mind of like, wait, if this is possible, if you could make an instant coffee taste as good as a really great cup from a cafe, like a pour over from a cafe, like the whole world of opportunity opens up for you in specialty coffee, where you can control for the first time ever what the very end product is gonna taste like. Because at the time I was working in a cafe, selling lots of bags of beans to people. And all the time when you sell a bag of coffee, especially when someone's like, oh, I'm getting this from my mom, can you pre-grind it for me? You're like, okay. I became completely consumed with this idea. And that's what set me on the path. This idea of like how much this could change coffee, how much this could do for the industry and broaden the industry and get new people enjoying specialty and more people drinking specialty. And like, yeah, I couldn't stop from there. As I'm getting into creating my own instant, and I actually start producing instant, all the time people would ask me like, oh, do you have a background in chemistry or food science? It's really funny because like, I have no background in anything like that. And I think it was just my dedication and obsession to figuring this out. And my whole time working on Voila, I felt like the whole industry was broken around freeze drying. The whole freeze drying industry was so backwards. And it reminded me so much of the coffee industry at the time. Like everything that people believed about coffee was hearsay. There's like rumors and fairy tales about 30 pounds of pressure and all this stuff. Like you're gonna shock the coffee if you put it over ice. Like all this stupid stuff. And I was so surprised to see that even in freeze drying, with people with PhDs in freeze drying technology, they couldn't wrap their heads around preserving volatile aromas and like treating the coffee to preserve as much of these certain components as possible as I was able to. Somebody with no experience, completely self-taught. And so, yeah, that's what I was. Like I was just dedicated enough to test everything. I bought my own freeze dryers and I logged everything, tested everything. The reason I was able to get so far in terms of quality is I took lessons from other industries, both on the production side of things, but also the marketing and verbiage side, like looking to craft beer and how that industry changed and developed after so many years of just being like commercial beer, and kombucha being a new beverage on the market. Like taking little things from other industries, looking at the cannabis industry and seeing how extraction technology had developed so far for a suddenly booming industry in the US. Taking little pieces of that and thinking like, how can this apply to coffee? How can I be scientific about this and really test and push the boundaries? And so I was completely self-taught, and I proved so many things wrong in the industry and was really proud of that. And like every month we were trying to test something new, push it further, push a new version out, a new level of quality, a new benchmark for ourselves. That's what ended up going really well for Voila, is like we didn't just settle for good enough. We really pushed the envelope at the detriment of a lot of times like the best branding, the best social media. It's like, I just wanted the best product, because if people taste it and it sucks, they're not going to drink it again. And if the real, influencers and tastemakers and authorities in the industry don't approve of it, it doesn't matter. It's not going to trickle down to the average person at that point, because you didn't earn the industry's respect. And so I was hyper focused on that, making every cup, every month, every week a little bit better. Yeah, I'm still surprised by how far behind freeze drying is and how people, they just don't get it. I don't even know how many mega freeze drying corporations in the US and overseas also. People who process millions of tons of product, pharmaceutical grade, food grade, everything. It's like they never got it. They never saw the vision for what was possible in coffee. The industry's like, it's turning, it's changed, it's developed. Like there's been new players coming into the space that have like continued that vision and carried the torch further, and I'm happy about that. But man, it's too slow. It's too slow moving. People are way too close-minded. They want to hold on to what like they're comfortable with and what they feel like they know and are taught. And they don't want to test things. And it's really unfortunate. It holds a lot of people back, and it holds the industry back.
We're filming a video and the coffee expert Ken is talking about coffee. It is really interesting to see him in his element and talk about what he knows the best for sure, and what he spent his a lot of time on, for sure. It's really interesting. So what was it like learning everything without a mentor and all alone and consuming all that information all at once, and how'd you navigate that after in the business?
I just listened to Gary Vee so much. Like in those early days, that was my business mentor. Just the way he thought early on about how to set up a brand, how to value your customers, and how to approach your company to where it's like a meritocracy, where, yeah, if people don't buy it, it's not good enough. Really not be romantic about the fact that your product might suck and what you're doing might suck. It's like you have to earn it. So I just had that in my head all the time, like on repeat, just that type of content, and myself just like getting lost in the process. That, I don't know, I really loved that time. I loved testing everything and going through the grind. I love that alone time that I have in my own mind and in my own thoughts of like building that brand. I'm thinking about the future of what this is going to look like in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, how it's going to change everything. And yeah, I think like to do something like that, it takes somebody like kind of delusional like me to think in that way, that like, yeah, I'm going to change the coffee industry. I loved feeling like I knew something big was happening. Like just wait until other people find out what's really happening in coffee. I started Voila when I was 22. Honestly, like looking back, I'm still impressed with my level of vision and forethought about what I was going to do with the company. When I listened back to like podcasts I was on, speeches I wrote, what I was saying about coffee at that time, I'm like, wow, like I really had a very clear vision for what I was doing. But at the same time, like I was really young, and I think that was good and bad, because the good thing is I didn't overthink anything. I just went for it. Like I didn't have a lot to lose. I didn't have kids at that time. Yeah, the downside to that was I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think if I were to do it again now, almost a decade later, not quite. The biggest difference would be counting the cost before I started. You know, biblical advice is like, man who counts the cost before building is a wise man. And I didn't count the cost. I didn't know how much exactly was needed to start a company like that. I was asking for like 200,000 total for Voila then, versus if I were to start it now, it'd be like, okay, minimum we need 6 million, 8 million just to like get a product launched. I think that was my big detriment in the business, is just not really understanding how much goes into starting a company like that. Not only just in capital expenditure, but marketing and staffing it with talent, like really good talent. We did so much with so little. I'm so proud of the team. It's like, our team was like 3 people. Myself, Zane, Jordan. At one point we had like some packaging people with us, but we ran that whole business, us 3. Like, not only an e-commerce business where we knew all of our direct customers, but a huge B2B white labeling business or contract manufacturing business as well. All the social media, the website, like supply chain management, vendors all over the world. At one point we had production overseas in New Zealand. We managed so much with so little, and people were always shocked to see, like, wait, this is the whole team. This is the whole Voila. Like 3 people doing literally everything from production, packaging to strategy and content. Like, I'm really proud of that, but it was a very scrappy way to run a business. So, I mean, I definitely wouldn't do it the same again. I'd be well funded, but at this point in my life, I don't want, at least currently, I don't want other people's money in my businesses. So now I run my own businesses that I use to snowball and fund other projects that I want to do. And I'm always trying to be focused. You know, I'm always like starting new things or having new interests, but it's my money. It's my money to lose. It makes me more intentional about how I spend it. I only answer to myself. And I think, yeah, I could be building something a lot bigger than I'm building right now, but what comes with that is something that I don't want. And that's kind of the advice I try to give other people, is like, really think through that. Because if you haven't been in that situation where you have shareholders, you have investors, like even if they're silent, like you always need more money. And so they always have all the leverage. They have all the power. Whatever they want to have happen, they're going to tell you, and they're going to dangle that next check. For a lot of people, that is worth it. And they're able to manage that. I've experienced that in that business, and right now it's just not for me. What it was like to have something so innovative in coffee and to start something so groundbreaking. You would think that it'd be really well received, but it wasn't at all. Because when you do something that hasn't been done before, you're breaking trail for the first time. And so you have to cut down all the weeds. You have to cut down all the thorns and bushes standing in your way for the people behind you. And people don't like change. Pretty much everybody knows that at some point. Like, people hate change. And especially around the precious coffee world that they're all so obsessed with, and is absolutely ridiculous and also hilarious how people would react to what I was trying to do in coffee, as if I'm taking something away. Literally, the whole attitude was that I was taking away and reducing specialty coffee. Over and over, people would be telling me, but if I just make instant, I lose my whole morning routine. I love the zen of my pour overs in the morning. Like, buddy, you can still make your pour overs, but what happens when you don't have your kit with you? What happens when you're on the plane, when you're traveling, when you wake up late and you still need a coffee, when you're at the office and you don't have your gear? Like, it fills in the gaps. I over and over had to preach, like, this might be how one person drinks all of their coffee, and it might be how another person fills in the gaps in between how they like to drink their coffee. But at least they don't have to compromise as much anymore. And I just got nothing but pushback. And I loved it. I fed off of that. Like, the people who didn't get it and didn't see it fueled me. Those were the people who I was like, you're going to be proven wrong, because the whole industry is going to catch on to this, and you're going to be left behind you know, talking about what pour over stand I want to get for my Hario V60. And it's like, wake up. Like, coffee's evolving, coffee's changing. Like, you can stick with your Stumptown Ristretto shots, whatever. Like, it really doesn't matter. But like, I'm here to push coffee forward and make coffee more evolved. And so, yeah, I loved it. And I always took on that persona of the challenger. And that's a lot of what we embodied in our marketing as well. Is like prove us wrong. If you think it's gonna suck, taste it, prove us. Prove that it sucks, you know? Yeah, I think that challenge like intrigued a lot of people. It sparked that intrigue of people being like, no way, it can't be that good. It can't be. Instant coffee can't taste good. And that worked really well for us. People just want to live in their fantasy world and don't want to live in reality. That like, they just want to be so romantic about coffee. I get it. Like, coffee's an addiction, and the way you experience it gets ingrained in your memory, and that's how you want to experience it every time. The form factor, the style, the setting, where you are, all of that. So I get it. Like, I can understand it, but yeah, instant coffee didn't take anything away. It opened up new opportunities for more people to drink it, to have a more enjoyable experience, to have a better quality product, and to taste coffees from roasters that they would never taste. And like, people are still opening packets of Voila 5, 6, 8 years later and sending me photos because it still tastes the same. Like, it's frozen in time. How interesting is that? That coffee, people are still, that I made 8 years ago, people are still able to drink it today because they just kept it in their backpack. Like, there's something romantic about that, I think. One time I got invited to be a speaker on a panel for the Specialty Coffee Association's Bloom event. And the Bloom event was like all of the most forward-thinking people in coffee. And so it's this event in San Francisco people pay for. And I was on the panel to talk about good, convenient, cheap, pick one. That was the title of it. Good, convenient, cheap, pick one. And I was up there, and I just remember the questions that we were answering, like sitting besides some really brilliant people in coffee. But like, still, even then, they're discussing like, yeah, it's really not fair that, you know, we can't get people to pay more for coffee. Like, what I said earlier, this idea around like, oh, we're going to be romantic about, like, if people aren't buying our product, it's something wrong with them, not our product. And I was just like, if people aren't buying into the story we're telling, if they're not paying more for the coffees we're selling, that's our fault. Look at other industries. They're able to charge $7, $10 for a craft beer in a can that sits beside another beer on the shelf that's $2, okay? So if they're able to do it, why can't we learn from them? Just like this, like, we just don't make the connections. We weren't making the connections in the industry. And I was like, are we just patting ourselves on the back being like, yeah, it's really not fair for us that people don't pay the fair prices for coffee because no. It's like, then we have to change something, change how we tell the story, change how we brand the product, change the packaging around. Like, it's our fault. It's not the customer's fault. I just remember sitting up there and being like, does nobody just want to admit that this is us? Like, we just have to think outside the box? Like, I don't know. I just remember lots of instances like that irritating me, and really having an awareness around me being the youngest person up there, around people who had been in the industry 4 and 5 times as long as I had, who were way more well-known, way more followed than I was. And I just felt like, am I the only one using my brain up here? I mean, I don't mean to say that to be arrogant, but like, when we're talking about things like that, it's like, what are we up on the stage for if that's all we're gonna talk about? If we're just gonna like be self-soothing and patting ourselves on the back the whole time, like, how is this forward thinking in coffee? Really? The whole time I was in the coffee industry, I felt like I was not a part of the coffee industry. Like, I was not let in, and I was not respected as somebody in the industry. And so maybe that was false, but I use that as fuel and animosity to do something different and to keep pushing farther and farther. To build a brand from scratch like that takes so much. Like you have to be an insane person. You have to internalize it. It has to come from within you, but you need to be completely incessant about exactly what is right and what is wrong. The way you speak to your customers, the way you handle problems, all starts to become diluted. Like one of the most important things about building a company and building a product and having a vision around it is like how clear your internal vision for that is. All of your messaging, what it looks like, what it feels like to become a customer, what it feels like to interact with your brand. Like if you don't have that inside of you and you don't have that like fortitude to be so uncompromising about how that is executed, you're not going to build a big brand, not at all. So eventually I had to close down Voila after almost 6 years working on it. And that's like one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through, because after that long of putting everything of myself, all of myself into one thing, all of my creative, all of my time and energy and sacrificing with my family, sacrificing with my friends, all of the obstacles we overcame, just everything, every ounce of my mental capacity and strategic capacity, like all of that into a business, and then watching that have to close at the end of the day and not seeing it get even close to what I envisioned and what I had hoped for is just so devastating, so gutting to go through. It's really like losing somebody. It's like losing a child. Like I put that brand was me. Every bit of copy on Instagram, on the website, in emails, the design, like the colors, everything, every product, every coffee that we had touched was from me, from my heart and from my soul. And having that close is horrible. I mean, still, it's like, it's difficult to think about what I went through and what I'd sacrificed to have that be shut down, not even get to like 10% of what I'd hoped we could do. But on the flip side of that, I found so much freedom in being able to close something, which is so crazy, because the one thing I'd feared the most the entire time of running that business completely bootstrapped, not knowing how we were going to pay for the next month, and at the end just being so consumed with like fear of it all falling apart, and eventually it did. But on the other side of that, I realized that I was still here and I could take all of those lessons, all of those learnings, and if I wanted to, just start over again.